Hi guys. I'm back here talking football with you. It has been some days. It's been a couple days. I know. If you haven't seen by now, you'll probably see in the morning that why I've been busy. Got some new things coming on the job front. I'm really excited to be a part of this project, and I'm excited for some of the opportunity that comes with this project to work with some wonderful people in the Cowboys community that y'all know. Please support us and support me, of course. I'll still be here doing content and on Girls Talk, Boys Talk doing content, but that will be where you will be finding most of my content pretty soon. So I didn't mean to abandon you guys, but a sister has to do things. A sister has, adult things to do. But I did want to get on here and talk to y'all about this preseason game that just happened and kind of touch on some of the guys that I think helped themselves be able to make this roster and just kind of the state of some of these rooms. I'm not going to keep y'all forever because I'm sleepy. But if you are new here, my name's Aisha with 2 eyes, and I talk draft here. I talk all things Cowboys. If you aren't new here, what's up? It's good to see y'all. Thank y'all so much for supporting me and coming into my channel. I hope that you leave a little bit more informed and be nice to people. It's not that hard. Alrighty. So, couple of guys that I think kind of put themselves in position to make this team. Number one, I'm going to say Deuce Vaughn. I think that Deuce Vaughn came out and showed you, hey, I'm a running back. I've been a running back. I am a little yittle, but I am not weak. And he's showing that he can run in between the tackles. Did it in college. He's not afraid to do that. I will say that he's a little bit more decisive in his running. So there's not so much jitteriness, if that's a word. When he sees things, he's seeing it and he's just going, and he's picking up 3-4 yards at a time in those situations. But with his center of gravity and the way that he's able to, he's already kind of low to the ground. He really puts guys in a tough situation when they have to tackle him. He's able to kind of squirt through and really get skinny in the hole. And guys, it's hard for guys to find him even behind blocks. But he also, too, has the ability, which a lot of guys don't, the jump cuts, the ability to bounce it to the outside and make you pay if you get caught inside is something that I think is dope, too. This running back room right now, do y'all know what's going on with it? I don't know what's going on with it. I think Royce Freeman had a couple of nice plays. We got to see him more last week and kind of what he's capable of. I do think that he could add something to this room. I personally think that he has a little bit more juice and a little bit more twitch to him than some people that didn't play. I'm not going there. But Snoop Connor had a couple plays. Still don't know. Nathaniel Pete had a couple plays. Still don't know. So with Deuce Vaughn, what running back has looked better than Deuce Vaughn in his last 2 games? I'll wait. None of them. So I think he deserves a chance to be on this roster, and if not, go find somebody better than him. But they better be better than him. I'm not convinced that the Cowboys are done shopping running back. We're already starting to see some of the cuts. We're already starting to see teams. Twitter was going crazy a little bit earlier with guys getting cut, guys getting released, whatever. It's about that time. Cut day's on Tuesday, but a lot of teams will start informing players like, hey, I'm released, and you see them posting on Twitter like, hey, I'm free and stuff like that. So the running back room, I have no idea what's going to happen there, but I do think that it could definitely be Rico Dowdle, Ezekiel Elliott, Deuce Vaughn, Hunter Lipke. And I do think if they are done shopping, I think Royce Freeman deserves to be here. I don't think they're going to carry 5 running backs because that's just not how they normally get down to get down. However, there's just not enough information to know what you're really getting from those other guys. They have handled running back like it's, I don't know, like it don't matter or something. And it's really annoying because with what we've seen from the offensive line to start, with the starters, you feel encouraged about their ability to run the ball, but it's like, who's going to be back there? So anyway, Deuce Vaughn, Ryan Flournoy. Let me fix myself. Flournoy. Kyle Yeomans corrected me and told me how to say his name. But I'm so glad that everybody's starting to come around on Ryan Flournoy, because I remember on draft day, it was day 3, he was a day 3 pick. We were in the draft room and his name was called and nobody knew nothing about him. And here I am, I'm like, I watched film on him. It was really hard to get film on him too, by the way. But I saw a guy, strong hands, yak ability, very angry after catch. He's difficult to tackle. He has a big body. And I think we're starting to see we're seeing those things from him. One thing I also pointed out that I liked, especially knowing that Michael Gallup was kind of on the fringe, was the sideline awareness and some of the things he's able to do, staying in bounds, but being able to concentrate and catch the ball. Kind of got to see a little bit of that this past week with that fade over the shoulder. I thought that was Trey Lance's one of his better balls that he threw in this game. Just, he has a package, man. He has some traits that you are excited about, but he's not just traits. He shows it on the field. And I do think that he can get better with being a willing blocker on the outside and things like that. But this guy deserves to make the team. He's been, out of all the receivers you've seen through preseason, most consistent. And again, the first game, I think he was a little jittery or whatever, getting back from injury. But after that, he's really taken off, and you see a guy that's not afraid of the moment. And he was going up against the Raiders' actual starting corners last game, and he actually he didn't care. So I think he's a guy that deserves to make the team. It really sucks for Jalen Moreno-Cropper, because he had that really steady couple weeks, and you were like, oh, okay. And I think that he definitely still can develop into, I'm not even going to say develop, because I think he has the ability as a route runner. It's really translating what he's doing in practice to the field. For some guys, it takes a little bit longer. Those lights are bright. They have to adjust and get comfortable. There's a lot going on during preseason. So we'll see what happens with him. But I think Ryan Flournoy has really taken over that spot and deserves to be on the team. And I'm not terrified if he has to go on the field and play with 4. I'm not. So that's that. As far as the tight end room, I want to talk about them a little bit and their boring selves. Let me tell you. The most disappointing room out of all of the positions has been the tight end room. I had so much more expectations for them coming into this preseason and even coming into camp. And again, I don't know if this is by design. I don't know. It just feels like they have not been a focal point in practices unless it's Jake Ferguson. And it just feels like they have not been a focal point even in the preseason games. I mean, they tried to get Schoolmaker going the first game. That didn't work. That was ugly. And from then on, it's just been kind of up and down. You see one guy do something and the other guy does something, and one guy do something and the other guy something. And that tight end 2 position is wide open. Schoolmaker hasn't locked that down. He hasn't done anything that would suggest that is his spot. So I was looking at Brevin Spanford and John Stevens Jr. as who's going to come in here and take over that spot? I will say that John Stevens Jr., I believe, is going to be your number 2 tight end. I think he gives you the most upside there right now. Mostly because, and I know that he had the fumble, and it hurt, and it sucked. And again, another good ball from Trey that ends up getting dropped or fumbled. Poor guy. Can't catch a break. But some of the things that I've seen from John Stevens Jr. in the open field, he has the athleticism. He clearly can catch the ball and has a good feel for where he is on the field. He just needs to secure that thing. But I think he gives you a little bit more from a receiving aspect than Schoolmaker does right now. But also, too, I got to give John Stevens Jr. his flowers. He's a former receiver. And a lot of time when former receivers, when they transition to tight end and things like that, people worry about how well is he going to block. And that was something that he was adamant about getting better at coming into this year. You see that on the field. He's really doing so much better of a job at controlling and sustaining blocks. And to me, that's what really makes your run game go. You know, we talked about it last year. The Cowboys' run game wasn't that efficient. A lot of that was because your tight ends couldn't hold up on the outside either when they were asked to. So I'm really looking for these tight ends to be better from a blocking aspect, which brings me to, I thought Schoonmaker did do some good things, sealing off some blocks and stuff like that. So, I mean, if you're going to just block your life away, fine. But I would like to run some 12 personnel and actually be threatening, you know? So, yeah, I still think that John Stevens Jr. has solidified his spot. Despite the fumble, it's just difficult to not think who else could it be at this point. And then also, too, even with Brevin Spanford, I thought he had a better day of solid blocking. He has really disappointed me, y'all. Like, coming out of Minnesota, looking at his tape, I was just so excited for what I thought he could bring to this team. And I'm not saying, I don't know if he makes the team. I think it's going to be Jake Ferguson, John Stevens Jr., and Schoonmaker. But with Brevin Spanford, even from what they paid him, you know that there was some expectations there. And you just haven't seen that consistent blocking from him that we did see in Minnesota, that nasty that he plays with. And also, too, I thought he had some wiggle as a receiver. I thought he had some run after catch ability. I thought that he had some good straight line speed. And we just haven't seen that from him. And it's disheartening. Like I said, this tight end room has not done it for me. And then you go to Peyton Hendershot, who has dealt with injuries for the last couple years. He was injured quite a bit last year. This year we're looking for him again. Take that spot. Take that tight end 2 spot. And nothing. Like, I don't even know if I noticed him that much on tape. He had a catch this past game, but that was honestly about it. And it's just like, well, what is this tight end room gonna be? Because Jake Ferguson, you know, we know that he's going to be a focal point of this offense, but you need guys behind him. And I don't know. We'll see what happens there. Princeton Fant, another guy where you're like, hey, come on. Uh-oh. Ooh, I got caught slipping. Excuse me. But you're just like, hey, come on. Somebody take this spot. And he couldn't capture it either. So those are I think those top 3 guys are going to be your tight ends, and then Hunter Lipke as an emergency if necessary, and that's what it's going to be. So, whatever. Tyrus Wheat, number 91 DN. He's a big DN. Last year, he was here, and we got to see him do some linebacker things. He was all right. But I do think that he's worked his way into this conversation to be on the roster as a DN. He fits the mold of Zimmer's, like, bigger DN type vibe. He doesn't particularly like DNs that are light in the ass because he wants you to be able to play the run, you know. So I think he plays with a lot of power, but he's patient playing the run. Very patient playing the run, but it doesn't take away from his aggressiveness. And I noticed him more this game. I'd seen him some last game, but this game I think I noticed him a little bit more playing the run, containing the edge, really being able to sift through tackles and to make plays on the ball. So he's a gentleman that I think, you know, should make this team. I think he's gonna make this team. And when you look at him in comparison to Al-Quadin Muhammad, who is, I think, gonna be suspended the first game because of whatever issue he had, that also plays into why I think that Tyrus Wheat might make the roster and should make the roster. I don't think this is a practice squad guy personally. Sorry, y'all. I just don't. I think he should be on the roster, especially with what you have going on at DN. Who else? Oh, Carl Lawson. We do know that Carl Lawson is just now getting his legs under him, y'all. Like, this man wasn't playing football. He was not he was training, but he wasn't in a camp or anything like that. So I did started to notice him a little bit later in the game. Oh, barnacles. I'm sorry. Started to notice him later in the game. I want to say late second quarter is when I think I started to notice him having some good sequences, showing off some of his pass rush ability and his ability to rip through and make plays on the ball, cut off the edge, loop around, and cut off backside as well. He plays with a lot of decisiveness, and he doesn't play about playing his gaps when he needs them. I mean, obviously he's lining up in the C gap often, but there's some integrity to his game that I appreciate, and I think it could be healthy for the team. But I'm really looking for him to bring some pass rush. Like, this team needs more edges that can rush the passer right now, because again, I don't know who's going to do that for you outside of Tank and Micah with kind of some of the things we've seen. I think you can get some pressure from the interior, but we're still trying to figure out who's going to be those guys that step up in Dorrance Armstrong and Dante Fowler's place when your starters need a breather and you need to get guys off the field. So just keep an eye on him. Just going to keeping an eye. There's practices this week. Want to see, just kind of how he's continuing to acclimate. Buddy Johnson. So I knew about Buddy Johnson because I remember seeing him at practice last year. And I think Clarence was just like, and that's Dallas's finest right there. Y'all know how Clarence sound like. And I'm like, oh, okay, who's that? And he's telling me, like, oh, he played for Texas, and he went to school in Dallas and Oak Cliff. And I'm like, oh, my hood. And so I hadn't really noticed him because he hadn't really gotten the opportunity, really. So looking at him this last 2 games, like, if you would have asked me a couple weeks ago, like, what other linebacker I thought was going to make the team, I would have probably said Nick Vigil, just because I thought that he was doing some good things in the run. But after this last couple of games, I think Buddy Johnson has made this team. And we saw Todd Archer tweet about it, and y'all already know what that means. You already know, like, Todd tweeting something, he knows something. So he's so fast and quick to the punch. And to me, I feel like he takes playing his gap personally. Like, he's like, you not running through here, big dog. And then there's even times where running backs will see him, like, so they see him and they try to bounce into the other gap, and he's just like, oh, where'd you think you're going there? Man, like, I was just so impressed with the way he was able to maneuver through, trash, and the way he was able to maneuver through trash and be able to get to the ball carrier. And then also, too, we got to see him do some things, playing on the ball, just reading the quarterback, making the decision, just going, just the decisiveness and how sure he is about things. I saw him make a play where the running back was trying to capture the edge, and he was like, not so fast, buddy. And just the speed, and he just seems fun. And honestly, with what's going on with DeMarvion Overshown, we're not sure. I mean, we are sure. He has a hip pointer, and a hip pointer is just essentially a really deep pelvic bruise. Don't know where he is. I mean, they're saying that he's going to be ready to start the year, but if he's not ready to start the season, this is a guy that I think will be a good backup. And it's not just because of the play, it's because of the temperament. Because DeMarvion Overshown is hype man. He's that guy. And if he can't be out there, I think that Buddy matches that energy that you're looking for. A little crazy, from your linebacker core. I wanted to mention Julius Wood. I think that he's played his way onto this roster. And I'm not going to be like that. But Julius Wood is someone that I've been talking about since the Cowboys got him as an undrafted free agent. I was ecstatic that they decided to sign him. I had heard about him through the grapevine, through one of my friends that, covers a draft and does a lot of HBCU work. Shout out to the HBCUs. I'm always going to give them love during the draft. They don't get enough attention, and I don't like that. But I was excited about him because I'm looking at him. I'm like, this is a guy that likes to play the run. He's rangy, and he takes the ball away. It's so many good things in a safety. And he's still taking his lumps. He had a missed tackle. That first play to Junior Fehoko, where Junior Fehoko, literally the big run, I think it was like 73-yard run, their first play from scrimmage. You see Junior Fehoko get caught inside, and he cannot get to the edge to contain. He just wasn't fast enough. And you see Julius Wood come behind him. You're supposed to be the second line of defense, buddy. He cuts it short. So then he takes a bad angle, and then Booth is back there like, y'all, like. And so he had a few things that he still needs to work on. He can get a little overly aggressive, which we saw. But the player himself and the things, him showing that he can take the ball away, showing that he can play the run, like a crazy pants and also do some things on special teams. I think this is your third strong safety and you call it a day. I think he deserves to be on this roster, and I would not mind seeing another HBCU kid make this roster because they deserve it too. So, what else? Did I talk about the offensive line yet? I'm not sure if I talked about the offensive line yet, but yes, I did. I think I did. I'm sorry. I looked at my notes about Matt Waletzko. I literally wrote down, I said about 50% of Matt Waletzko's blocks could be holds. Those refs was being generous. Them refs just wanted to go to the house. I'm telling y'all. Like, they was ready to go. They wasn't trying to do no extra because the way he was grabbing and stuff, I'm not going to go there. Another thing I wanted to mention, and it has nothing to do with nothing, but this is just how my mind works. I don't want this defense to struggle with crossing routes again. And even the backup secondary is struggling with deep crossers and those type of things. But the starters last year struggled with deep crossing routes. I really want to get into somebody's ear in that building from a coaching standpoint and see what they are doing or what they have done to try to improve that, because Green Bay tore your ass up with that. San Fran tore your ass up with that. And honestly, I'm looking at, the secondary in this preseason game, again, not starters, but a lot of the rules still apply, and them struggling with crossing routes. And that's not something I want to see. I just wrote it down because, of course. And last but not least, we're going to go ahead and get it out the way and talk about Trey Lance really quick. Well, before we do that, I wanted to mention the tackle that the Cowboys brought in, Cole Cabral. I hope I'm saying that right. Ooh, I'm sorry if I'm not. This looks like an experienced player. Like, when you watch him, you look at the awareness and the communication and just kind of how comfortable he looks back there. They had him playing right guard this game once TJ Bass went out, and confused the hell out of me because y'all said he was a tackle. And don't get me wrong, like, I had numerous people tell me, like, hey, he does more interior work, that's just where he's comfortable, whatever. Y'all, there is no tackle depth. You're stressing me out. I mean, Awesome Richards being healthy has saved your life with Chuma Edoga going down. We don't know what Waletzko is. Josh Ball was playing left guard. And Nathan Thomas out of Louisiana, I think he's going to be on IR. So stop getting interior players. How many could you possibly need? You need guys that can play tackle. So as nice as it was to see him do some decent things in the passing game, he's still not doing tackle stuff, and I don't get it. But anyway, we already know Trey Lance had 5 interceptions. I actually went through and looked at every interception and wrote down what happened. The first pick, the wide receiver fell down, and it just wasn't there from the start. He shouldn't have thrown it. The second pick, I think he thought that the Burnett was going to come up a little bit in the end zone. He did not. They were not on the same page. So that was that one. The third end, it was behind the wide receiver, and it was tipped by the defender. The fourth pick, he feels the pressure, and he literally just threw it up there. Like, you could literally see him feel the pressure, and he's just like, oh, let me just get rid of the ball. Like, what are you doing here? And the fifth end, he kind of just seemed careless, to be honest. Like, I don't know if he had checked out at that point, but the way he just floated that ball out there, like, happy birthday, you're welcome, your whole family's watching, here's a pick. It was just ugly. And like I said, I'm very careful with how I talk about Trey Lance, because I think it's easy to fall into, just kind of bashing the kid and just kind of talking about him as though, this is some super experienced player. I understand that this is an NFL caliber player and there's an expectation, but I do think that we should be empathetic in how we handle some of these conversations. So I'm gonna talk to y'all about the football part of things, and that's it. I'm not doing no extra fancy schmancy evaluating like his feelings and stuff. I'm not doing that. That's other people can do that there. I'm gonna tell you that the mechanics are all over the place. The throwing mechanics, the foot mechanics, like they never really match and sync up, and that's why you see him overthrowing guys. That's why you see him, the ball going so high on him, because you don't want your quarterback to play flat-footed, but you don't want them to be on their toes. You want them to kind of be in that in-between place, and I just think that he's not finding the balance on his platform to deliver the ball the way that he needs to, but also too, his throwing mechanics are wonky. Like sometimes he's sidearming things, sometimes he's following through in the ball, and it looks good. Like especially when you look at the improvement that he made with that fade route, you see that he knows how to place that ball. The motion is like in sync, but you don't always see that like that. You see him double patting the ball and thinking and stuff like that. And there was just quite a few times where he just didn't see the defender at all. Like at all. So that lets me know that he's not really reading the field. I'm not sure he knows what he sees all the time. And there's not a lot you can do about that besides play and keep playing and figuring that out. Now, if a guy, this is just a 3-game sample now, after 5 games, 6, 7 games you've seen of him doing this, then you can kind of be like, okay, well, maybe this is what this kid is. But right now, we still don't know enough. And Jerry came out, was like, he's going to be on the team. Again, not my business. But I do think that there were so many good things, too, as well in these last few games. I mean, it's frustrating because I feel like when you see him do some good things, there was a couple times they did a couple rollouts for him and just boots, and just to see the motion and just kind of how he rolls out and he's throwing the ball. He was accurate on those plays. A couple of the plays he eventually became more comfortable pushing the ball downfield, and Burnett had the drop, John Stevens had the drop, some guys had drops last game. I mean, you see the talent there and you see what he's capable of. It's just very inconsistent, and I don't know how he gets consistent here, because we may not see him again for the rest of the season, depending on, like, he doesn't have the time to get the reps that he needs to gain more confidence and to also be able to see a defense and read it and do things like that. Like, so do I think he's going to be your 3 quarterback? Probably. I also do think that he is more of a threat to defenses than a Cooper Rush. But I think everyone wants to go with the Cooper Rush because it's the comfortable thing and all this stuff. And I'm like, ain't nobody scared of Cooper Rush. But I bet you people are a little bit more nervous about Trey Lance. Yeah, of course. We want him to be a better passer. You want him to read the field, all those things. But the fact that he has the ability to use his legs is always going to be threatening. So I don't know what happens there, but I'm not sure I'm out on him as the 2 quarterback. And I'm just being honest with y'all. I think that people have like short-term memory loss or something like that when they're talking about Cooper Rush, because I remember the Cowboys being last in the NFL on 3rd down. I remember the Cowboys having almost no plays past 15 yards. Like, it was very, and again, he got the job done, but I don't know. That's just me. I'm personally not a huge Cooper Rush fan. I don't get the lore. But Cooper Rush has done some things like during practice and even in, I think, that second preseason game where you're like, oh, he's pushing the ball downfield. Now, that's something we haven't seen from him really. So if he's going to play like that, sure, cool. But if he's going to be, reserved Cooper Rush and how he kind of just goes through the motions, then, I mean, what are we really getting out of that for real? Like, I don't know, y'all. I just think that I personally think the kid has something, and he can bring something to the team, but I don't know if they feel the same way. It sounds like Jerry does, but he needs to learn quickly, and he just don't have time. And that's just is what it is. And I don't know what he feels like being in this situation where he feels like he's against the clock, because it's not just about right now. This is his career. This is his career. This is life that could be changing after whatever decision is made by the Cowboys. So I just think we got to be careful when we're talking about it. You know, it's just me. And yeah, but I'm off my soapbox with Trey Lance. So anyway, that's what I saw from him. I thought that even with some of the RPOs, he's not reading those right either. It's like, honey, you should have handed that off. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I mean, that's that. Anyway, I think that I touched on mostly everything. Oh, I will talk about the safety room. I think Israel McQuamo was no longer a safety. I think he's a corner. I think he's going to be in the conversation with corner. I oddly enough think that they do keep Booth. So I think it'll be, oh my God, I almost forgot that Deron Bland was injured. Barnacles. So it's going to be Trayvon Diggs, Deron Bland, Jordan Lewis. Oh, excuse me. Jordan Lewis. Who else? Oh, Israel Mukwamu. And I think they keep Booth. I think those are the gentlemen that they end up keeping. I don't think that Eric Scott has done enough to stay on this roster. Whew. Yeah, I don't think he's done enough to stay on this roster. And Kimon Hall, like, that injury that he's dealing with, that they're being precautionary about, was very unexpected. I wanted to see him this game, want to see him a little bit more. But I think one thing that helps him is the fact that, oh, and Kalen Carson. Oh, my God. I'm so sorry that I almost forgot to say his name. Tater tots. And Kalen Carson. But the thing is, maybe they don't keep Booth. I don't know, because y'all know how they do with CJ Goodwin. And he be taking a roster spot regardless. Like, Bones don't play about him. That's his dude. So, we'll see what happens there. But, yeah, with Kimon Hall, the fact that he can play the nickel, and he plays the nickel well, is appealing. Because you have a lot of boundary guys. Oh, my God. I'm sorry. Oh, excuse me. You have a lot of boundary guys, but you don't have a lot of guys that can play the nickel. So, some of these cuts going to hurt y'all. Some of these cuts are going to be uncomfortable. Truly. Now, as far as safety goes, I think safety is going to be what we think it is. I think it's going to be Malik Hooker, Donovan Wilson, Wanye Thomas, Marquise Bell, and Julius Wood. That's what I think the safety room is. And as far as the end, I think that most of the guys that they have now, they're going to keep. The only guy that I think could get cut on the defensive line is, like I said, Justin Rogers. Denzel Daxton is here with the international program, so he's going to be here. Justin Rogers was a draft pick, though, so I still don't know. I'm sorry, I'm going through this with y'all. Like, I have no idea. I'm not very good at roster cuts and all this stuff, because we can think we know what they're thinking all day, and then I bet you somebody's going to surprise us. Like, there's going to be somebody that gets cut off this roster, and we're all just like, okay, well, what made you do that? So, yeah. That's kind of all I wanted to talk to you guys about. I just wanted to get on here and kind of touch on the game and some of my thoughts about the game, but also to just touch on some of the things that I think could happen with the roster cuts. Again, some of these rooms are very cut and dry, like the safety room and stuff like that, and then you get into the running back room and you just like, no idea. So I'll be back on probably on Wednesday to talk to y'all, because cuts would have been happen by then, and we'll have a little bit more information then. They do have practice Wednesday and Thursday, so I'll be able to come back on and kind of tell y'all some of the things I saw, and I'm excited. So thank you for coming to support me. Please like and subscribe. I'm not asking, you ain't got to share nothing, like, you ain't got to do all that, like, let me stay low key for right now, but comment and talk to me. If you want to, of course, follow me on Twitter at Aisha Morrison with 2 eyes. And I really appreciate y'all coming in. Bye.